The United Methodist Church has done a whole lot of very cool things in terms of caring for and healing God's creation for a very long time. And several of us in leadership now in the denomination decided 5 years ago that because we're doing all this really cool stuff, we needed an organization to serve sort of as an umbrella to hold all of these pieces of this work together to make us more effective. I remember several years ago when we started Earth Keepers, we shared it with Bishop O, who was then the bishop of the Minnesota Annual Conference. And he got so excited and he told us, he said, you know what y'all are doing? Y'all are creating a movement. And that's Wesleyan. That's what Wesley did to create a movement. And so that's when we thought we'd call this new thing the United Methodist Creation Justice Movement. And that's what we're celebrating today. But I want us also to celebrate this wonderful history of who we've been ever since the days of John Wesley. So General Conference resolutions as early as 1980 have addressed environmental concerns, and at every General Conference since, including most recently, the last couple of General Conferences, a fossil fuel divestment movement. The United Methodist Book of Discipline contains our social principles, the first of which is the community of all creation, which was revised at last year's General Conference. But the social principles, including the natural world, were written in 1972 and really go back as far as John Wesley. In the 1700s, Wesley had some pretty incredible things to say regarding God's creation. Our General Board of Church and Society is charged with the implementation of those social principles in society, and they've done that primarily through advocacy on Capitol Hill. So those guys have been about creation care work for a long time. Our Council of Bishops produced a document called God's Renewed Creation, A Call to Hope in Action in 2009 that connects environmental degradation and climate change with pandemic, poverty, and disease, with the proliferation of weapons and violence. And then in November of 2021, the same council produced another document, a climate crisis response from the Council of Bishops. We started doing conferences or summits, I think around 2010 or 2011 at Lake Junaluska in North Carolina. They went on for several years there, and then they moved to Atlanta for 2 years, to Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia, to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then to Nashville in 2019, which was our last in-person summit. United Women in Faith, then UMW, established a green team in 2004 that lasted 2 quadrennia until 2012 to explore the possibility of incorporating ministries of creation care into the overall mission and ministry of what was then UMW. And in 2009, UMW sent a delegation to COP15 in Copenhagen. Their Mission U social action study for 2016 and 2017 was called Climate Justice, A Call to Hope in Action. And for several years now, climate justice has been one of 2 priorities for United Women in Faith. They are the only general agency of the church for whom creation care is that much of a top priority. But who is really surprised at that? Most recently, their Mission U study guide on climate justice was revised and published as a 2nd edition, chiefly to be used by discipleship ministries as one of their lay servant ministries classes, all thanks to one of our Earth Keepers, Bob Downs. In 2009, Global Ministries commissioned a missionary assigned to the care of God's creation as the executive director of Caretakers of God's Creation, a Virginia Conference Creation Care Ministry. Around 2013, Global Ministries established a global creation care ministry team made up of representatives from the 5 major areas of the world in which Global Ministries does mission. And this team attended COP20 in Lima and COP21 in Paris. Global Ministries also met with its environmental scholars, who were young people from African countries and the Philippines, to engage with them in doing projects on behalf of the church and God's creation. Then in 2016, Global Ministries created Earth Keepers, a training program for clergy and laity, requiring them and equipping them to do projects related to creation care and the church. Over this same period of time, our seminaries added creation care theology courses and have established ministries of their own to care for creation. One, in fact, has its own farm, and one has a class to teach its students how to preach sermons on climate change. And while all this history was happening, hundreds of local congregations established creation care teams, and even many annual conferences established teams. So all of this history and more, because I'm sure I'm leaving things out, means that the United Methodist Church has done a whole lot of very cool things in terms of caring for and healing God's creation for a very long time.